What's up, guys and gals? Welcome all back to the Nerd Castle for the next in our weekend review. I know I haven't popped one out in a little while, but this is the series brought to you by our Patreon donators, so thank them. This is where we sit down for a little bit and talk about the stuff that's been going on over the course of the last week, things that are coming, going, aspects of business and all that fun stuff, and we just shoot the shit for a little while. Distinguished from the Q&A because it's not really I guess it's not an entertainment series, it's just us hanging out and me telling you what's going on as we go through the next coming weeks. I'm actually really excited, so I wanted to start out with that. Right now, we have like a selection of games that I am incredibly excited about. Like, for realsies, there's gonna be things going on at the channel over the next month or two that, like, it's been a while, because normally what happens is I like all of the games that I play on the channel. I always like the games that I play. However, sometimes you get like halfway through a game and you're just like, you like burn out on it or whatever. You just don't feel like playing it anymore. Then you got to mash it out all the way, and its staying power isn't what you thought it would be. But right now, like, all the stuff that we have going on in the channel is really fun stuff. And so I wanted to go through iteratively. We'll talk about each of the series we have going on, maybe some of the future plans, things that I want to get done that just haven't gotten done yet. It's a little bit unfortunate because I wish there was more hours in the day. I really sincerely do. I wish there was more hours so that I could work on more stuff, but there just isn't. Like, you get those 24 and you have to be asleep for like 5 to 6 of them, and then you work the rest of the time, you end up with what you end up with. So anyways, let's get started. I wanted to talk about our series Shadowrun Hong Kong. It's one of the old fogies on our channel right now. It's actually reached over 40 episodes. You got 3 left as far as I know. I think there's 46 episodes. I finished the game. It's all ready to go. It should be done by... let's see, this is going up on Sunday, so it'll probably be done either Tuesday or Monday. I'm not totally sure about that, but it'll be done pretty quick. I really enjoyed the ending of that game. It was one of those things that had me just being like, oh man. I felt bummed out, but I also felt kind of like an idiot. Like, behind the scenes, I didn't talk to any of the people because I didn't realize there was a little bridge area that was up and to the left of where you sleep. And also, I was trying to make things flow a little bit quicker. Like, there was so much conversation on the front end, and I could already tell that, like, people were losing interest. And I was like, well, maybe if I keep, like, things moving along, we'll be okay here. But in general, one of the things I regret is not getting to know the characters' backstories. And so I may play through a second time by myself just to get that out of it. But I tremendously enjoyed Hong Kong. I don't know if I liked it better than Dragonfall, actually, though. Not really sure. When it comes Dragonfall versus Hong Kong, I think I may have liked Dragonfall better. I think I like the characters they gave you in Hong Kong better. Like, I think they gave you better characters in Hong Kong, and I like the way you could level them up along the way and give them new abilities. I really liked that, and it made it feel like your secondary characters weren't useless, because in Dragonfall, I definitely felt like the secondary characters kind of sucked, like, half the time, and I really just tried to hire people to make up for it. Whereas in Hong Kong, I never had that feeling. But in general, I don't know. I think I like the storyline better in Dragonfall 2, although Hong Kong was interesting, and it was nice to see something that wasn't set in Seattle or whatever. And so I look forward to see, I mean, Dragonfall was in Germany, so go figure. They're getting out of Seattle pretty frequently, and I don't know where the next one's going to be at, but I assume it's probably going to be out east somewhere. I think we had Germany, we've had Hong Kong, we've had Seattle, and so my guess is they'll probably put the next one over like New York or maybe like Atlanta or something like that. It seems like that'd be a pretty good... I mean, they might put it... I don't know. Who knows? They might put it in, like, Rio de Janeiro or something like that, or they might put it in Egypt or Cairo. Who even knows? A lot of fun stuff they could do with the next game, although I think they've actually swapped over. I think they're going to be done harebrained. I'm pretty sure they're done with Shadowrun for a little while. I'm pretty sure they're going to be working on Battletech for the next little bit. I think they're trying to revitalize Battletech in the same way that they revitalized Shadowrun Hong Kong. And I'm actually excited to see that, too, because I remember playing Battletech games when I was a kid, so... I'd like to see those come back. I had Battletech. Actually, I think that's one of the ones that I'm trying to get for my Genesis collection right now. And my I think there's a Super Nintendo Battletech, too. I'm trying to get those for my collection. So anyways, haven't ordered them yet, but I probably will so I can refresh my memory. I don't remember much about the Battletech universe. I was actually more into Mech Warrior a lot of the time. And so I remember Battletech having, like, clans and stuff like that. But much past that point, I don't really remember. Rebel Galaxy. Oh my god, Rebel Galaxy is the latecomer of 2015 for me. Very exciting little game. I actually did not expect it to be that good. I was planning on playing it on the channel, and I had watched videos from other people who had gotten it earlier than I did, and I was excited about it, but I was kind of restraining myself and being like, alright, well, every time I get excited about a game, it ends up not living up to my expectations. And I'm pleased to say that Rebel Galaxy overshot them all. It went off the ramp and went far farther than I expected. Rebel Galaxy... I'm looking forward to playing it a lot. I don't even care if anybody watches it or likes it or whatever. Don't give a shit. I like the game a lot. It's a really fun game, and it's one of those titles that I'll probably keep around no matter how it tends to perform or whatever, just because I like the game. It's a really fun little sandbox simulator game, and I think it's got the production values that are absolutely fantastic. Everything feels polished. Everything feels good. The voiceovers are a little iffy, but much beyond that point, voice acting can be a major, major cash sink for any production. And so, if you got to skimp somewhere, I don't really care about bad voice acting so long as the game is really fantastic. That just gives it kind of like a trashy feel to me. It gives it kind of like a, actually trashy is not the word, campy. It gives it a campy feel to me where it's like, yeah, some of it's a little goofball, but the rest of it's really polished. And so once you got the gameplay locked down, I don't really care about the rest, and Rebel Galaxy's been very, very good. I like the way everything flows. I like the way that the trading is very lightweight, but at the same time, it takes a little bit of time to get done. I enjoy the fact that the combat is lightweight, but at the same time takes a little bit of contemplation. It essentially takes the complication from a lot of other sims and then slims it down slightly so that lighter weight players like myself can get up in there and play it and have a good time without having to learn 1,000 UI commands and, you know, randomly rigging the entire galaxy together with a chain of trade outposts that are producing tube fabs and all that kind of stuff. So Rebel Galaxy, very, very pleased with it. As I said, all of the stuff we have going on the channel right now has me excited. Like, there's a lot of fun playthroughs getting done at the moment, and that pleases me greatly. Warhammer 40k Deathwatch. I, once again, surprised. I thought it was just going to be a mobile port, and it is. It's a mobile port, very clearly. Everything says tap instead of click and stuff like that. Still, at the same time, for what the game offers, I've enjoyed it. I've played through the first 7 or 8 missions right now because you can only have one save file, and I've been having a blast. I mean, I like anything 40k, though, so I'm really biased when it comes to that kind of stuff. When it comes to 40k, I find myself just like playing the hell out of it just because it's 40k. Still, there are bad 40k games and there are good 40k games, and I think Deathwatch is somewhere in the middle where it's playable, it's fan service. If you like Warhammer 40k and you like turn-based strategy, it has all the bare minimum stuff you need right there to be an enjoyable experience. If you're looking for something a little bit more, I think you're going to be let down, but I think that's Warhammer 40k as a franchise in general. If you expect a lot, you're probably going to get burned because they seem to just have kind of like a quantity over quality type approach to the way that they produce games and also just IPs that surround their entire universe. And so you find good ones here and there, and I've put a lot of faith into a lot of it since Relic went out of business. But Deathwatch is fun. I think it's overpriced. I mean, I'll tell you that right now. I think somebody told me it's like 30 bucks or something like that. I'm like, oh, that's way overpriced, considering they're selling it for like, what? Probably like $5 or $6 on the iPhone, or it's probably free on the iPhone. You just do microtransactions. So anyways, the price is probably pretty ludicrous, but once again, that's Games Workshop. You can never tell with them. So I'm enjoying the game. Mine is a press copy. Almost everything I get on this channel is a press copy, but I won't let that keep me from telling you that I think the price is lame. If I had to pay 26 bucks for it, I wouldn't have. Still, playing the game for what it is right now, I'm enjoying it. So I do like the fact that each of your each of your Space Marines, highly customizable. You can play around with their guns, you can move things around. They have lots of little level up skills and things. Every single Marine has different skills that are randomly generated, so that the veterans and the champions are like way better than the normal guys that you get. They also have named characters in there, I think. I've gotten, you'll see in the future, I don't know if you guys have seen me get Endgear Lupus yet, but anyways, we get a champion Space Wolf, and so he's actually tier 3 out of 4, which means he's like going up the chain. He's basically almost a legendary Space Wolf. Like, he's up there on the list. He's a badass. And so he's got so many more skills than all the other Space Marines do. And so it makes sense to level him up instead of the other ones because he is flat out better. He starts with like 40% more HP or something like that. Actually, I think he starts with... He starts with 240. A normal guy starts with, so he starts with like 20% more, I guess. But still, he starts with more everything, and he's just a way better character. And so anyways, I like the way that you open the card packs to get new stuff. That's going to keep me addicted for quite some time. I can see myself playing through the game a lot of times just to get like legendary characters and stuff like that. But Deathwatch, we're probably going to play the full campaign, and after that, we'll let her go. But I'm enjoying it for right now. I think there's also another 40k game coming out pretty soon, but I can't think of what it is. There's another one coming out. There's Deathwatch, and there's another one that has kind of like a death namey. It has kind of like a fatal-sounding name, and I can't remember what it is, but I think you fight against... I don't know if you fight against Nids or not in it. I'm kind of absorbed with Deathwatch right now, so we'll just have to take that at face value. Either way, excited about Deathwatch. Very happy with the selection of games, and to be honest with you, I've been trying to be careful about what I'm selecting because I'm very burnt out right now with YouTube. I pride myself on being very, very real on YouTube and not presenting you guys with an act. Like, what I do here is not being like, like me goofing around and making faces for the camera. Like, this is all stuff that I would do if I was in a room with my friends. And I have no problem being honest with you. My burnout rate is very, very high right now. I got the flu last week, and I think that was just the straw that broke the camel's back. And so it took me 2 or 3 days to get done with the flu, and after that came back, I noticed it when I came back to work the day after I started feeling better from the flu, where I was just like, I don't feel like working today at all. Like, I don't feel like I'm enjoying this. I don't feel like I'm having fun. I don't want to do this right now. And so I sat back and I thought to myself, all right, I took the day off. And I said, what do I want to do with this? There's a number of ways that I can handle this. And what I came up with is this. I'm going to be very, very selective. Like, I enjoy all the games I play on my channel. But from here on out, I'm only going to pick the games that I really like, the ones that I enjoy among the ones that I enjoy. So the top 1 percentile. Because usually I'm just trying to fill space. And so I find something I like and I fill space with it because we're a very high volume channel. Still, doing that has burned me out. So we may do less videos, but I may focus more heavily on certain things. I'm not really so sure, but my burnout is high, and so I'm going to be very careful about what comes on the channel, and I want it to enjoy it a lot so that this is not like work time for me. This is like me just playing a video game, and then I talk while I do it, and then just like, it's something that I was going to play anyways, and so there you go. I feel like I do a pretty good job selecting games, but my last couple choices have burned me out a little bit. Planet Base. I figured I'd give you that little segue in the middle. Planet Base, fantastic game. Not much to say here about Planet Base, although we haven't done a weekend review since I started it up, because weekend review has been kind of an odd place where I felt like weekend review was turning into like this performance review around the channel. I don't want it to be like that. I want it to be like a behind the scenes thing, because that's what I vetted it as to the Patreon people that were supporting it. And so anyways, I'm trying to redouble. I took a couple of weeks off. I kind of got my headspace into a better area because I've been feeling down lately. You guys know that I've been feeling down, stressed, kind of burned out. Got my head to a better space, and I know what I want weekend review to be right now. And Planet Base is a game that I can say I mean, it kind of becomes, so Planet Base, once you get about 10 hours in, you're going to find yourself passing a lot of time. But up until then, the production values are fantastic. The game runs at a smooth 60 frames for me, no matter how many people I have on my base. I'm up to like 200 people right now in one of my personal playthroughs. And it's like my nose has been itching this entire video, so I figured I'd get it right there. Just hope nobody noticed. Still, it runs great. And normally what happens with these colony simulators is that the more people you have, it just bogs down on CPU calculations. And I haven't been seeing that. I've been having a lot of fun with Planet Base, and I hope you guys have as well. It's a game that I can wholeheartedly recommend. Everything from the production values to the graphics to the way that everything works. I think they got some minor UI things that I would change around a little bit. But aside from that, the game is really a blast to play. I don't find myself, when I get to my Planet Base recording day, I almost unanimously am like, whee! It's never just like, okay, I gotta mash out a couple of episodes to get this done. I hope it ends soon, you know. Like some games I get kind of near the end and I'm like, alright, I'm ready for this. Mad Max, I felt that way. When I got to the end of Mad Max, I was like, yep, I'm ready for this to end right now. I'm not burned out yet, but I can tell if I drag this out another 10 episodes, I'm gonna be. And so let's finish this thing off today. Let's just hit the main storyline quest, and from there we'll just be done with it because we did a good 40 episodes, you know what I mean? But Planet Base, I don't feel that. I enjoy the game. I don't know how long I'm gonna take it out because it's a sandbox game. I figure around the time where we've built everything and everything looks kind of just like good to go, I'll probably take a break on it. We may come back in a couple of months once they patch a couple of times, and then we'll do one of the harder maps, maybe to spruce things up a little bit. Never understood, maybe spruce smells good, so people put spruce. I was going to ask, like, why is it sprucing things up? Maybe spruce smells good, and people used to put it in their houses or something to make it smell nice. Like, what is the origin of that phrase? We have Sky Hill. Sky Hill's going to be coming to an end in a couple of days, I think. 1 or 2 days. I'm going to let you guys have a fan choice about it. I actually, in the final episode, what I said is that I like Sky Hill, but I feel like the content is a little bit light to keep people hooked and like running with it. And so I think what's going to happen with Sky Hill is I'm going to leave it where it's at. I haven't figured out, we make it pretty far. I'm going to give you that right there. So stay tuned and you'll see how far we get with the game. Not going to tell you whether we won or lost or not. We made it pretty far though. We unlocked a lot of perks. Still, the game is kind of just me going downstairs and then just like clicking on stuff until it dies and then hoping we pick up the right, I guess, the right conglomeration of random stuff from the chest that we loot so that we can make better weapons down the line. And so Sky Hill, it's a very light game. It's a game that I enjoyed, and I thought that it was a good game. The voiceovers are undoubtedly super goofy, but it's an interesting take on a lightweight roguelike, and I enjoyed that about it. And so for the price, I think it's a pretty solid game. Whether or not you get like 50 hours of gameplay out of it, I think remains to be seen. I think it entertained me for a good 5 or 6. And if I get 5 or 6 hours out of a game that cost me less than $10, I'm usually pretty happy with it. So Sky Hill is one of those games that I think I purchased Sky Hill, actually. I think I found out about it after the fact. I could have emailed the developers and gotten a press copy, but I wanted to record it like right then and there, so I just went and bought it, I think, which happens all the time. And so anyways, I think I went and bought it, for $10. I'd say I got my money's worth out of it. I enjoyed it. It's got little things here and there, little foibles and slips. It's about as unpolished. It's a small project. I mean, it's a fun game. I like what it is. It's a small project with a small development team, so I think I can forgive some of the rough edges. I don't know if we'll be keeping it after this last playthrough. That's going to be on the Nerd Castle. If you guys are vocal about it, I put it on the last episode. Just be very, very vocal. If I see a lot of comments there, like hundreds of comments, I'll be happy with it, and I'll be like, yeah, let's go ahead and keep it. If it ends up being one of those things where it's like 20 people are like, meh, 20 people out of 5,000 views are like, yeah, it seems cool, then I'll probably let it go and we'll fill in the space with something else. Although as of right now, There's a couple things I want to fill in space with, but we'll talk about that at the end of the review. Dungeon Defenders 2. So Dungeon Defenders 2, it was a sponsored series. And so first and foremost, I wanted to go on record about the Dungeon Defenders series and say that I did get paid for making those videos. A contract, they paid me to do a couple of videos. And there it is. I wanted to be on record about it because I think in the comments about the Dungeon Defenders series, the few videos that I was paid to make, there was some discussion about whether or not putting sponsored in the title was good enough. Now, legally, I want you guys to know how the legalities work around this. As long as it's in the title, legally in the United States, my ass is covered. And so I figured I would just put it in the title, and it's right there. Like, when you click on the video, you know that this video was paid for. But I guess there was some ambiguity there. I don't know if some of it was lost in translation as to what sponsored means. I have a multinational audience, and so I want to make sure that everybody is clear. I did get paid for that series. They paid me to make a couple of videos. There it is. The developers approached me. They said that they watch my videos and they like my videos and that they wanted a video in the Splattercat style. They didn't want it to feel like a sponsored video. They said that they wanted it not to feel like an infomercial, but just like a Splattercat video where I sit down, I make jokes, I have a good time, and I play the game. Now, there was ambiguity there, and so I'm changing my policy on this. A number of people said that they wanted me to shout it out at the beginning of the video. I'm going to do that from now on. I figured the title was good enough, but you guys are the audience. And so if you guys feel that it's not good enough and it's not transparent enough, I don't know until I try something out. And so I'm glad that you guys gave me the feedback there. From here on in, I'm going to swap it out. I'm going to shout it out as a sponsored series at the beginning. I kind of just left it ambiguous because I wasn't really sure what the developers meant by that. And so I figured I would just mark it as sponsored in the title and it'd be all good to go. But obviously people had problems with that. So we're going to be changing that up. As far as Dungeon Defenders go, the work is all finished off for me. And so it's all done right there. I enjoyed my time with the game. I do like the game much as I enjoyed the first Dungeon Defenders. I played the first one quite a bit. I think there was a little bit of a learning curve when I got into Dungeon Defenders 2 because it's been a good, I don't know, maybe 4 years since I played the first one. It's been a long time. I played it my first year in college, and I've been out of college for a year now, so extrapolate from there. Still, I think they've made modifications to the game that are, some things went forward, some things went backwards. I would have liked to have seen armor on characters and things like that that actually shows up and is nice. And then they could have kept the appearance gear as paid stuff. But I think by and large, as far as most of the systems function, it's the same thing as the first game, but important polishings were made in various areas. I do feel like the game flows a little bit better. But aside from that, Dungeon Defenders, I enjoyed my time with it, but I don't know if we're going to do too many more videos, just simply due to the fact that I think that I approached the sponsored thing in a way that people didn't like. And so now that the job is done, the contract is fulfilled, I will take that on board for future things, and I'll try and do it a little bit better, because that's all that life is, looking at mistakes and doing things a little bit better next time. Sub-level 0. So sub-level 0, my save got wiped out, and I actually talked to the developer, and they said it wasn't a patch on their end that wiped it out, so I think I might have just gotten a bug. I went to log into my game so that we could finish the run that we had, and it crashed during loading. Then when I came back in, the continue button was grayed out, and I could only start a new game. I do like sub-level 0, but I think I've got the wrong audience for it. I don't think people enjoyed sub-level 0 as much as I expected. And so I think it was a little bit of a branding error, like kind of a sci-fi, doomish 6 degrees of freedom flying through space. It reminds me of Descent, which was a game that was very important to me as a child. So I figured I'd do a playthrough of it and at least shine a little bit of light on it, because I like to help developers that do things that I enjoy. It's tremendously difficult for developers to get any sort of exposure like in the current game development world. Like, the game development world has a lot of people just chirping for attention. And sometimes a channel like mine giving somebody like 15, 20,000 views is enough for them to pay their bills and keep producing the game. Now, I've never gotten hard sales figures on how much somebody sells after I put up a video of their game, and honestly, that's not my intent, is not to sell their game, really. It's just to shine a light on the game and make people aware, and if they choose after watching me to play it to go buy it, then hey, hooray for the developer. I'm glad it worked out like that. I don't get any, I don't get anything out of that relationship aside from the fact that I get to make videos that go on my channel and diversify my content. So I try to choose things that I enjoy, and I try to vet products that I enjoy. And Sub-Level 0 is definitely one that I think deserves the collective attention of the internet. I feel like it's a very polished experience. I like the game a lot. It gets hellishly difficult on the back end. I found that the game was downright nasty once you get to level 4 or 5. But aside from the difficulty curve, which is like a perpendicular wall, like the game is very easy until level 3, and then it's just like, bam, you slam into that wall, and from there you got to adjust your tactics and make things a little bit better. But it's a fun game. I like it a lot. I like how it's got limited crafting. It's got little things in there to keep you variable and playing the game from different directions each time. However, I think that we hit just about everything we wanted to hit in 6 episodes. And judging from the fact that people I don't think liked the series very much, aside from old school Descent fans, I will probably treat that as an extra slot where I can fit something else in the future, because I do have things that I want to do. Still, if you haven't checked out the Sub-Level 0 series, I highly recommend that you do so, because it's a really, really good indie game. Seriously, I think a lot of people are bypassing it, and I think on Steam right now, I mean, we can take a look. We can see how many, you can judge how successful a game is on Steam by looking, just kind of like a YouTuber's insider tip here. You can judge how successful a game is selling on Steam by how many reviews it has. You can extrapolate that out. So if a game has like 5 or 6 reviews, it's like, it may not be selling so well. If it's got like 100, that means it sold pretty well. And if it's got like 1,000, that means it's like an indie game classic. So anyway, Sub-Level 0 here. I think they're getting feedback. I mean, they're doing all right. They got 200 reviews, so yeah, the game is doing pretty healthily right now. I feel like I've done my part in showing off a game that I enjoyed in my own time, try to get its name out there into the ether so that the developers can keep doing their thing, but we're probably going to fill in space with something else from here on in, so if you're waiting for it to come back, this is your warning. Soma ended. Man, it's going to be a long review video, but it's been a while since I did one, so I don't mind it. Soma ended. I liked Soma. Soma was a horror game that was not really a horror game, though. It was more of kind of like a walking through the map, finding stuff, interacting with it, then occasionally ducking, getting punched in the head simulator. Still, I really liked the storyline and some of the ethical and moral quandaries that they raised during the course of the gameplay. I liked it a lot, in fact, and so I would highly recommend Soma to everybody. Definitely another good effort on the part of the Amnesia devs. I never finished Amnesia, so I don't know if it's better than Amnesia. I made it most of the way through Amnesia, but I never finished it. Soma I felt very solid about, though, and I felt like they sort of like multitasked on the endings. They gave the happy ending for people that wanted the happy ending. They gave the bad ending for people that wanted the bad ending. And then they just washed their hands of it. And they're like, yeah, accept whichever one that you want. Yeah, well, I'm not going to spoil it. If you haven't watched it, you should go ahead and do that. Or if you haven't played it, you should do it. I don't want to spoiler here in this video. But I feel like they did a pretty good job with the storyline. I was really engaged that entire game. In fact, the horror parts were my least favorite. The storyline parts were what had me the most engaged. And so anyways, I felt like some of the horror bits were a little bit odd and didn't really explain their mechanics well enough. Like, I felt like a lot of the things just listened for noise, and that was like the entire game. Still, aside from the horror elements, I liked the puzzles. They had some really unique puzzles in that game that really threw me for a loop. Like the one with the memory allocation. I was like, that is a weird puzzle. Like, that's a very odd puzzle that I wouldn't have normally thought about. There's some interesting stuff in that game, but still, I liked Soma, so I definitely would vouch for that one. Behind the scenes, I didn't find it to be scary, though. I just found it to be a really, really interesting philosophical game. Cryptark. I don't know if I'm going to make more Cryptark right now. Cryptark ran into a problem. I accidentally deleted my save like an idiot. So I got like 3 episodes out to you guys, and I would have to restart, and I wasn't sure if there would be a mutiny if I restarted from the first mission, but like starting from like the 4th mission where we were seemed kind of like, I don't know. It seemed kind of like it would be leaving you guys in the dark as to where we got all these weapons and all this money from. Cryptark's a badass game, though, too. I mean, as far as polish is concerned, right now seems to be the heyday of the little indie game. Like, there are so many tiny indie projects releasing right now that are so good, that are just really, really satisfying and well polished from top to bottom. I'm playing like a dozen indie games right now, and they all just have me really, really engaged because everything is well put together. I think the last 2 or 3 months, that's good though too, because the last 2 or 3 months we've had a lot of shitty indie games, and so it's nice to see like this little season of good games releasing to kind of like raise my spirits and get me back into like indie gaming again. Cryptark's a cool game for a lot of reasons. It reminds me a lot of the games I used to play on the Sega Genesis back in the day, or the Super Nintendo, where they were all like side isometric and you would fly a mech around or whatever. I can't specifically remember the names of them anymore, but this game is definitely reminiscent. I can never say that word. You know, sometimes you have words that you always trip over. Reminiscent is one for me. It's reminiscent of those older games, and I like the fact that everything is there. You can make money, you buy whatever stuff you want, you unlock technologies. It's got like a little bit of a live-action XCOM feel to it, where if you don't get the technologies you want, you got to learn to play with the ones that you have. And so I like the game. I think it's got a vicious difficulty curve, but I'm not going to hold it against it. I think it's a lot of fun, and I don't know if I should do more episodes, so let me know what you think. I'm not really sure what people would prefer. Jotun with some finality. I think Jotun's... Oh, Jotun. Oh, okay. So we got a couple things to talk about here. This is what happens when I skip a week. Jotun. I liked Jotun. The general consensus that I heard from other YouTubers, though, was that it was boring and it was too slow. But I liked Jotun a lot. The boss fights were incredibly difficult, and I think you would be hard-pressed to find a prettier game, that's for sure. I definitely think they could have made the game a little bit more engaging by adding some more mobs to the game, but I get why they made the game the way that they made it. They wanted combat to not be the center focus. They wanted the world to be the center focus, and that's understandable. They have a very interesting Nordic world to play around in, but at the same time, I can understand people who said it was boring, because sometimes when I was playing it, I was just like, we've been walking for a really long time. At the same time, I liked the boss fights and the animation so much that I was just in love with the game from the top to the bottom. If you didn't see our Jotun playthrough, it is the closest thing that I can show you to video game artwork. Very, very beautiful game and playable at the same time. A lot of games that become artwork are no longer playable as games. They kind of step too far over the line. Jotun, I think, hit that perfect line right in the middle between art and game, where it's interactable, but it's still just beautiful to look at all the way through. Like, holy shit, the animation in that game. Whoever drew that game did a very, very wonderful job, and that's what initially drew me to it. I don't mean to be punny right there. Heroes of Might and Magic 7. I would like to go back to Heroes of Might and Magic 7. I'm going to check it today. Heroes of Might and Magic 7, I got a bug that made it so I can't load my saves, and my game won't even load. I couldn't even start a new game and play back to where I was because it crashes when I load the game. And so that's the explanation for why I haven't been playing it. As of 2 days ago, they still haven't, like, fixed it. But I'll go ahead and give it a look tonight and see if it's fixed. And if it's fixed, we'll jump back into the game and we'll see what we can accomplish, at least finish the Orc campaign. But up until then, I liked Heroes of Might and Magic, or they switched it around. It used to be Heroes of Might and Magic. Now it's Might and Magic Heroes. So anyways, Might and Magic Heroes 7, I liked it. I don't know. I think people get upset because it's not Might and Magic 3. But I think that it's the best game that they've put out since 4. I mean, 5 and 6 I wasn't huge fans of, but 7 I like quite a bit. I think that they polished up the things that they needed to. I think that unfortunately the bug polishing's a little bit bad on it. As you can see, I haven't been able to play the game for a while now, but what are you going to do? What are you going to do? That's going to be our weekend review. We talked about our stuff, things coming up in the future. I'm looking forward to another Long Dark series. None of these are promises, so when I say that I'm looking forward to doing them, it means that they are high on my list and I want to do them again. I just haven't had time. I'd like to do a Brigador playthrough. I'd like to do a playthrough of Long Dark. I'm looking forward to doing another playthrough of Duskers, but I might give it another couple patches. I'm looking forward, well, those are actually the 3 right there. I think I'm looking at things in the future. I'm not going to run through the Steam release list like I used to do and talk about the things that I'm excited about, because honestly, I don't think there's a ton of things right now that are jumping out at me still. There are things around. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything right now. I'll get back to you with next week's. But anyways, if you like this series, please, please, please make sure that you patronize it. I mean, this is... But anyways, if you like this series, this is my weekend review where we talk about the series that I'm currently playing on the channel. All the things that I'm enjoying, not enjoying, kind of like the ups and downs of recording games and the things that I've locked onto and my different sort of, I guess, recommendations or just like things I'm like, watch out for while we're going along the way. This series was paid for by the Patreon supporters. Find a link for that down below, so thank you for your generosity in keeping the channel up and running. I've actually retooled all of the rewards for the Patreon people, so if you were interested in going on Patreon and supporting the channel but haven't done it yet because I told you that I was retrofitting all the rewards, they have been retrofitted. And obviously, they have become kind of expansive. I kind of put in filler ones on the end. I'm not expecting to get like a ridiculous amount of donations or anything like that. So some of the stuff that's like on the higher echelons is sort of placeholders until I make it a little bit more fleshed out once we get closer to that period. But still, everything should be fairly concrete at this point. Thank you for patronizing this series. I will see you all later. Hi to everybody. This is the Weekend Review. I'm signing on out. It's my weekend.